Now, it's clear what we need now is clear support of Supreme Court's decision, and we need politicians who will be prophetic and moral leaders and not exploit the fears of their people. Fortunately, the issues that black people are raising are good for the whole nation. Some issues that the rich whites are raising are not good for blacks or the rest of the nation. Blacks contend we should have a full employment bill as an alternative to welfare and despair. Numerically more whites are unemployed than blacks. There are 3 whites on welfare for every 1 black that's on welfare. Thus, we need a full employment bill.
I too know suffering. My great-grandfather was the sheriff of Greenville County who raped my great-grandmother. And of that relationship, my grandmother, who was stolen from the plantation by my grandfather. And then my father came out of that relationship. I know suffering. I was born to a teenage mother who was born to a teenage mother. July 17, 1960, I went to jail in Greenville, South Carolina, trying to use a library. July 17, 1984, I was speaking for the Democratic Convention in San Francisco without the aid of government sponsorship.
But I am somebody.
Good morning, good Monday morning, and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I am your host, Stacey Brown.
Peace and love, everybody. I'm Neil Anderson, and welcome. Come on in. And that was our beloved Reverend Jesse Jackson, who is still alive. Not trying to scare you.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Especially with all of the rumors that was printed and published and broadcast over the weekend about him being on life support. And that's really irresponsible. As we know, so many of mainstream has been so irresponsible, certainly not just with the Jesse Jackson story, but with so many other stories that we see each and every day.
Right, for sure. His family did release a statement yesterday saying that he is well alive. He is not on a breathing machine. And he even called for black churches to pass out 2,000, well, he called on 2,000 churches to prepare 2,000 baskets of food to prevent malnutrition during the holiday season. And that came from his son, Yusef Jackson. And so he is in the hospital in his bed. He is one of our elders, and he is still on the front line for black folks.
Yeah, he's being treated at Chicago's Northwestern Memorial Hospital for a rare neurological disorder that affects movement and balance. He is currently stable, and he is surrounded by his loved ones. And he is, again, as Neil noted, not on life support, as several have reported. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Neil.
No, I was just saying, we're just, honoring him and giving him his flowers while he is still alive, and talking about his legacy in real time. We wish we could hear from him too. I'm sure he'd have a lot to say about what's going on.
Well, the last time I spoke to Jesse Jackson, and we do have quite the history, him and I. And it's one of those histories in which journalists, reporter, and subject over the years, many years. But the last time I spoke to him must have been 2 years ago. I think it was. My wife and I were in the car. We were driving south, and he got on the phone, and he was. I forget the subject, but we were talking, and he must have talked for a half hour. And this is, and no disrespect to him, but I did not understand most of the things he was saying. And his longtime friend and assistant, Shelly Davis, I spoke to him right after, and I said, Shelly, I'm not going to embarrass the man and use any of this, because he was clearly struggling at that point, and he was still trying to convey a message about certainly about human rights or civil rights or something, and he really wanted that message. And I said, I'm not going to use that interview. No one will ever hear that interview, because obviously it was being recorded with his permission. But I said, no, that's just an injustice to him, regardless of the fact that he okayed that. He wanted that, but and I got a chance to speak to his wife, and Mrs. Jackson was like, "Yeah, thank you for that." She was appreciative. It wasn't his best moment, and it was just one of those things. You have to. I think at some point you have to put the pen down. You have to take the journalism hat off and put on the human hat. And Jesse had some real struggles, but we go back. We had our battles. Jesse was at Michael Jackson's trial. He was there to try and protect Michael's catalog. A lot of people were going after his catalog, and him and I were at a hotel there in Santa Maria, California, and we discussed it. And he was very adamant that, listen, somebody has to step in here. This is generational wealth he was talking about when he talks about Michael and Michael's family and that catalog. And we see even today, he was obviously right that Michael's estate is now worth over $3 billion.
Yeah, well, Reverend Jesse Jackson was definitely a people's person. I think, many of us have stories about Reverend Jesse Jackson. I know for myself, I did PR for his dinner. And he used to come out here all the time for Taste of Soul. He was a huge friend of the LA Sentinel. So, of course, we've interviewed him several times as well. And we were just with Reverend Jesse Jackson celebrating his life last year at the DNC because it was in his beloved town, Chicago. The Rainbow Push headquarters held a huge rally for him. Maxine Waters was there. Bernie Sanders was there. And, of course, Reverend Jackson was there, kind of reflective of what you said. You said you talked to him 2 years ago. But the fact of the matter is he is still on the front line. And I think that's probably one of the things that keeps him going is that he's still able in his mind to say something, to still have power to pick up a phone and call a Dr. Ben Chavis or a Danny Bakewell Sr. or Derek Johnson from the NAACP. And whatever he's mumbling, it still has relevance and value and people listen.
So you said something really important, which is, again, going back to that 2023 conversation I had with him. He, make no mistake, up until the last time I spoke to him and anybody else that I know of, but nonetheless, the mind is there. It's not like his mind is gone. His vocal is not where he would like it or anybody would like it at this point, but he certainly, like you said, he can convey in some way or another, whether it's written, whether it's somehow he can convey what, like you said, what he said, 20,000 churches or something. What did you say?
2,000 churches to prepare 2,000 baskets of food to prevent malnutrition for the holiday season.
Right. So he can convey these things. It's not like he's out of his mind, folks. At least from the last I knew. These reports coming out and what you just said, the 2,000 show that he's still of sound mind. It's just his being able to verbalize things is more than a challenge for Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. So
which is unfortunate because we love those speeches, right? Those speeches, whether you like them or not, the man knew how to give great speeches. So.
Yeah, definitely praying for his family as they take care of him and have to deal with, everything that's going on, filtering messages that are inaccurate, and also just being there for him. I mean, just being a caregiver, whether it's Jesse Jackson or your grandmama, to be a caregiver is a tremendous task to do. Sometimes it's a burden of love that you have to have for your loved one. And so definitely prayers going out to his family as they, take care of him and have to field all of the fake news that's coming their way.
Yep. And I tell you what's not fake news, Niele, going down to Florida. Florida has adopted the so-called Phoenix Declaration. And folks, it's a major red flag. This is just another step toward Christian nationalism when a state starts replacing secular curriculum with ideology from the Heritage Foundation. This is not academics. They are now adopting it for their schools. It is part of the Project 2025. And it is pretty ugly when it all boils down. You know the face of it talks about guiding principles of being respectful and things of that nature. But when you dig into it, and when the Heritage Foundation is headlining it, it's going to be a problem. I mean, supporters say that they have these value statements about parental control, traditional civics, objective truth, and a move away from what they claim to be politicized education. But what it really is a strategic blueprint, a way to normalize a specific ideological worldview in public schools under the banner of virtual heritage and returning to basics. So the Heritage Foundation is now all over the Florida educational system, and you can best believe that it begins in Florida. It is not going to stop in Florida.
Well, also, and I'm not sure if this is relative, but DeSantis also formed a partnership with Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization, to have chapters throughout all of the high schools within Florida. So, I mean, if you're saying that the Heritage Foundation, this just happened not in October, where he said that any high school could start a chapter called Club America. And that's under the ideology of Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk. And so, you probably are going to see a lot more of these red states adopting this type of ideology within our schools. And I just always go back to the 1619 Project, because if everything was on the trajectory of what we were doing before, that would have been the 1619 Project, not chapters in the schools, but just the framing of American history would have been adopting the 1619 Project book, which really corrects the misleading concept of American history that we have known throughout the tradition of education in America. So it's just interesting how they are really doubling down on their narrative and how they want America to be perceived.
Yeah, exactly. Just take out all the truths and want everybody to believe and live the lie. That's the bottom. It's the bottom line. And this is what happens when you let convicted criminals run the government. It's funny because at the top this morning, RNG posted that he is marked safe from Bubba. And so with that being said, Donald Trump says that House Republicans should go ahead and release the Epstein files, that they have his blessing. This comes as his public feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene exploded over the weekend, with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that she is now getting hoax pizza deliveries, and they're threatening her life, saying that she says that she has to now hire security, and her daughter jumping in saying that if anything happens to my mom, you know who did it, pointing at Trump. And Trump is calling her every bit of crazy, that she's now gone to the left and she's siding with the Democrats, and he's not going to endorse her. He's withdrawn all support, and calling her just nuts and crazy and things of that nature. It's been really interesting to watch, as Lauren Burke and I have been busting out the popcorn all weekend and exchanging notes on this duel between Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, now she knows how the black poll workers out of Atlanta felt when, Rudy Giuliani was doubling down on them. Now she knows how it feels. And she's probably getting a lighter treatment than what happened to them. So, welcome to a partial feeling of what it means to be Black and go against the Trump administration. That's what I have to say to her.
She would hate that. They hate to hear you say something like that.
I mean, those women they had to move out of their homes.
That's right.
So did Fani Willis. She had to move out of her house because of the threats that she was getting. Right. So welcome to the club, homegirl.
That's a warm welcome, huh? Neil
And we
gives.
don't know if we're gonna let you in if they start chasing you with
Oh shoot!
masks on. We'll know if
Oh
you
shoot!
might have to hide in the woods. We don't know if we're gonna let you in.
You're not gonna
But
let it in.
we might point you in the right direction of the way to go. But honey, child,
Not in my house.
honey, child,
You mean, come on, you wouldn't offer like a warm cup of coffee or something?
you got a lot more work to do before we can save you. Okay, kind of out there on your own.
Jasmine Crockett has been having fun with it too. I've seen her tweet about it as well, and of course, she tweets, throws some arrows at her, but at the same time, she says she still don't trust this. You can tell Jasmine's not trusting this as authentic.
No,
So you always got to be very skeptical because something's going on, and this is just a distraction.
but you can already tell that she probably has some intel that she knows the tides are turning, and so she'd rather get off with the life jacket than to go down while it sinks.
Neil, you're not gonna open the door for Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No.
No? Okay. And yes, Claudette Perry, I 100% agree. All of a sudden now, he's saying release the files. He's given Congress the blessing, his blessing of releasing the files, voting to release the files. And Claudette Perry says that Trump has already put in the redacted fix. So he now says, yes, open the files. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier this morning.
Yeah.
But at the same time, guess what? Just as the estate released the emails that he wasn't expecting, the people
they
are
got
on
goods.
the case. The people are on the case, and he's not going to be able to stop it because we saw over the weekend that the victims released a video demanding that the files be released. So it's just a matter of time before they start talking about him. They're talking, but they're not really saying any names. But it's just a matter of time before one talks, and then guess what? Oprah's coming out of retirement.
You said Oprah?
Oprah's coming out. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oprah's gonna be like, tell us, because she already.
You get an Epstein file.
Because her and Gail are still pissed about what he's doing to Gail over at CBS.
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of people who would love to have that conversation, and best believe they are knocking. And I'm just not talking about Oprah. Journalists are knocking on those women's doors to talk about it, and eventually it's going to happen. Let Donald Trump keep talking, and I think the smoking gun, I told you this, or the smoking gun is going to be Melania. We looking for Donald Trump to be in those files, but I bet you it's going to be a lot of Melania in it too.
Now I will say this, and I was saying this before we went on the air. I was kind of surprised at one thing that's going around virally about him and someone that you said that they claim that is not Bill Clinton, but they're saying Bubba, that Trump allegedly performed a sex act on Bubba.
Fellatio. It's called fellatio.
Okay, well, you said okay. I will say, I guess nobody really should surprise you, right, when they reach certain statuses, because these people lose their minds when they get power anyway. But I was kind of surprised though at that.
Well, Epstein's brother came out yesterday and said it was not Bill Clinton. So I mean, okay. But then,
does that matter?
I mean, okay, maybe Bill's your friend. I don't know. There was also a video surfacing of a journalist asking Bill Clinton about it, and he just kind of laughed about it, and I thought he was going along with the bit. You would think, because he laughed. Like maybe he did. Maybe he did. That was his response.
Well, so generally, look, no shade to anybody, but a heterosexual man would immediately dismiss that. Would say absolutely not if it didn't happen.
This is unusual times, and I think that it's better to go along with the bit, especially because it has to do with Donald Trump. But there was also another photo floating around of another rich white man who they also called Bubba. that Trump knew, and that they all knew that was in the Epstein orbit. So basically, you know, we got 2 Lakeishas, we got 2 Brendas, you can have 2 Bubbas. Which Bubba is it?
Oh my gosh. Claudette Perry says Marjorie Taylor Greene has ambitions. There's no way she could have she could do a 360 without a plan. Yeah, there are people who, right. She had, come on, that's true. I think, yeah, that's a good way of looking at that too. She has to have had a plan in place. If she doesn't have a plan, then she's crazy.
She could be talking to her constituents too. Remember, all of these people have to
look at that
back.
picture.
Yeah, Melania's in those files somewhere, somehow. And she's smart.
Allegedly.
That's why she's quiet. Bill Clinton's smart. That's why he's quiet. But Mark, you have to realize too, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's thinking about her seat and she's thinking about her district. And one of the things that you cannot control is how your constituents are going to respond to you when you come back to your district. Mm-hmm. And so she could have a lot of constituents that are saying, hey, look, I don't like the way this is going. And if you don't step out and be different, then you about to lose your job. And so you have to factor all these things in. And she could be getting intel. Remember, when Donald Trump was playing with the stock market, she ended up buying a whole bunch of stocks and got super rich. So they also have intel coming out of the Capitol that they are privy to that we don't know. So I think ambition, you know, some people put in the chat, White House, yeah, ambition, but also constituents and what she's hearing on Capitol Hill. I think all those play a factor into how she's moving.
Well, Patricia Jackson says Marjorie Taylor Greene is only thinking about herself.
Right.
RNG, yes, we talked about that too, RNG. He says Megyn Kelly is already defending Trump. She claims 15-year-olds are different from 8-year-olds. The woman
or
is
5-year-olds, yeah.
Or 5-year-olds. The sick excuses that they're giving for pedophilia. Alan Dershowitz is coming out claiming that, oh, you can't call Epstein a pedophile because he was one count of something, whatever, that he pled guilty to. Is he sick? Yes, he's sick. These people are sick.
Right.
It's the bottom line. We got a video before we go into our next story. Let's check out Elon Musk's dad. Okay, maybe we don't have it.
I think that Africa is a big talking point in the US right now. Is America in the next 20 years will become, for the first time in its history, a minority white country.
Well, that will be a very, very bad thing to happen. You want to see the US go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars and electric cars, and you don't like technology, or what is it? Do you want to go back to the jungle, or?
If the US becomes a minority white country.
Yes.
So there's Latinas, there's blacks, there's people from all different races make up the majority, and then, you know, it could be 48% white people. Do you really think the US is doomed if it goes under?
Yes, it goes under then.
Seriously?
Yes, of course. You see, if you take South Africa, we have a small white population that projects European culture, or what we learned from Europe.
And oppressed millions of black people.
No.
For decades.
How do you oppress? We gave them work, we fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a massive group. That's not oppression, that's feeding them. Do you understand? You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800 and become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. You know, enough with this nonsense.
But so you understand, because the black population was so oppressed under apartheid.
Well, we never saw this oppression you're talking about.
You never saw it.
No, I never saw it.
Yeah, because you're white. The big concern at the moment.
Because you're white, because you're racist, because you're an idiot, you're low life, etc., etc. That's why you didn't see the oppression.
Well, I mean, he just speaks to the fear of, if you recall back during Trump's first administration, he gutted the census. And so this is a conversation that white men have been having for a while. And the reality is that many believe that white folks are already the minority in the United States of America. And this is why they are doubling down so hard on systemics, because that's the only power that they really have right now is systemic. So systemic racism is real. And they what they do is they control the government, they control the laws. That's why you see Donald Trump, messing with snaps. He's penetrating the highest amount of things that minorities are, involved in. They're trying to control education. All of these things is what makes up systemic racism, and this is how they maintain their power. Because at the end of the day, I think we all know that if they, I don't believe they're still the majority. I don't believe white people are the majority in this country, but this is how they hold on to their power.
No, they're not the majority. I believe you. I believe you wholeheartedly on that. And this is why we see what we've been seeing over the last 10, 11 months with this crazy immigration stuff, out of control, ICE stuff. And he's hiring any thug possible to try and go after people who are not white. It's as simple as that. You're right. I think you're right.
And they started the last administration with the census. The census is what gives us the makeup of what this country is. And Donald Trump gutted it. Yep. And then we kind of got it back on the right track. But, don't be surprised if he won't be in office, but maybe in office by the time the census rolls around in 2030.
But Greer makes a great point too. She says, remember, they count Asian people as white. So there's that too. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're 100%
but there's a conversation even bringing that up, that we as Black people have to stop trying to be mixed. Pick Black, okay? Pick Black, okay? We trying to do something over here. If you Latino and your mama white, pick Latino. Stop playing around. We're trying to do something over here, okay? Stop playing with it, because that's part of the problem too. People don't want to be what they are.
What?
If you got an ounce, if you got a half an ounce, you're Black. If you got a half an ounce, you're Latino. Stop playing with it.
Neil came with some fire this morning on a Monday. Good.
Just stop. We trying to do something over here.
And she mentions too, Greer mentions that some Hispanics are classified as white. I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah, stop it. Stop.
Cut it out, y'all. You're messing up the whole program, Neil says.
You see what they doing to your cousin, Jose and Maria? Stop.
Why you gotta bring Jose into it?
I'm just saying,
business.
Come on. I hope they know now. You see the man, the Latino that owned Trump Burgers in Texas. You saw what happened to him.
Oh boy, folks, go on. Before we get to that next story, I'm just going to ad lib a little bit and say, go on to blackpressusa.com. There is a story about donate to the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the trade association of the more than 200 Black-owned newspapers and media companies that make up the Black press of America. We're trying to reach the 200th anniversary, folks, and any contribution you can make to the National Newspaper Publishers Association will help us reach that historic occasion in 2027. So don't hesitate. If you got a couple of pennies lying aside, go ahead and donate to Black journalism. In case you missed it, a Baltimore police officer, you remember that officer who was seen in a viral video chasing a Black young man with his police cruiser trying to run him over last month? Well, Brandon Scott said, I am not going for that stuff. You are not on my watch. The officer was arrested and charged with attempted murder, among other charges, first and second degree assault, reckless driving, and misconduct in office. If he is found guilty of all the charges, he could face a maximum of 65 years in prison. So good for Baltimore. This guy had no reason to do what he did, and you don't have a reason to run somebody over. I mean, unless he's trying to take your life, but he obviously initiated it, Neil, and then literally tried to kill the man.
Right. I just think, as we look at Black leadership, Mayor Brandon Scott was the one that made sure that he was suspended without pay. I mean, and that's what is going to happen. That is what it's going to take across this country to make sure accountability is still had, because we know we're not going to get it out of the Trump clan. I want to give a shout out to Jason Douglas Lewis, who's in the chat. He actually owns a Black newspaper out here in LA called The Standard that services the Crenshaw district. So good morning, Jason, and welcome. And we see your comment. And Jason says a lot of white folks really believe that there's something in their genetics that makes them better at building countries and better at business. I totally agree with that, but they still need Black folks to make it happen. They really not doing the building. They just telling you how many bricks to lay. And then the Black people be like, well, you say 220, but you really need 250 if you want it to be right. You know what I'm saying? So they still need us. But welcome in, Jason. Glad to have you this morning.
Glad to have you, Jason. And also, speaking of, in case you missed it, Wendy Williams got a great diagnosis. Her latest medical findings could finally, according to her team, expose years of lies surrounding her court-imposed guardianship after more than 3 years under financial and personal control she never wanted. New neurological tests revealed that she does not suffer from dementia at all. The very diagnosis that was used to justify stripping her of her freedom. The results was confirmed by a New York specialist, and they said Wendy has shown no signs of the brain disease that her guardian claims she has had. And she's also maintained sobriety for 3 years and continues, according to folks who see her, she continues to display sharpness and social engagement. And now her attorney, Joe Tacopino, says that he is going to push for the termination within the next week or two, termination of the guardianship. So this is where we are with Wendy Williams right now.
Good for her. A lot of people say it's karma. It could be. I personally think Wendy had a mental breakdown after her husband left her. And that just broke her heart. If you looked at that documentary, and even if you looked at the Lifetime series or movie about her life, she loved that man. And it's she was heartbroken, and she broke down. And when you're heartbroken and you have a mental breakdown, you might drink a bottle of vodka. You might, toot a little toot. But I think she had a mental breakdown, and she is getting her stuff back together. And they took advantage of her. She was left with nobody around at the time when he left her, and she probably kicked everybody out of her life, wouldn't let anybody near her, which made her vulnerable. And now she's in this situation. But I'm happy that she's, in the words of Diana Ross, she's coming out.
She's coming out. Don't call it a comeback. She's been here for years.
And I hope she comes back on TV. We miss her. We love Jennifer Hudson. We love Sherry Shepherd, but nobody could do it like Wendy Williams. We want to know what she thinks about Diddy. We want to know what she thinks about Cardi B.
We know what she thinks about Diddy.
We wanted to hear what she had to say about Cowboy Carter, and the tour and all this stuff with Jay-Z and Rock Nation. We like Wendy's POV.
Well, yeah, she got herself in a lot of trouble with her show. But you're right. All those other shows that have come after her is nothing like Wendy Williams. I had the privilege of being on her show before, so as a guest, so I will always have that. So
I think she just broke down because of her husband. I think she loved that man. You could see it. He broke her heart. He had one job. You can have as many hoes as you want. You can have as many hoes as you want. Just don't get them pregnant. He broke the golden rule and bought the woman a house. That broke her heart. She was like, "What? I made you an executive producer of my show. I thought we was doing this together." He broke her heart.
She said, "Yeah, one job."
Yeah,
down the street. Wait a minute. She says, "Is that Gris says down the street? Is that you're talking about the same thing?" The guy, he was messing with somebody down the street.
I think he bought the house. The house.
Oh
When he
my
bought, when she
God.
found out about the house, it was like around the corner down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cold brother.
Wow.
And now he wants
And he
to
want alimony.
advocate for her and say, yeah, let her out.
Yeah,
But
because he
we
want more
waiting on
money.
Wendy. When Wendy comes back, I'm pretty sure that she's gonna bounce back. Even if it's a podcast, folks are gonna be listening. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure people are still talking to her, especially now. You saw Don Lemon trying to hang out with her and have dinner. Don't be surprised if Don tries to bring her into his orbit.
Oh, you're right. You're probably right. If there's a comeback, it will probably be via a podcast, and you know that certainly the first time she gets behind the microphone, all records are going to fall. So many people are going to be people who don't even like her are going to tune in.
For sure, for sure. A few more headlines to get through. Let's start in Georgia, where Ahmaud Arbery's parents are relieved after a federal appeals court has upheld the hate crime convictions of the 3 white men who chased and killed Ahmaud Arbery more than 5 years ago, which of course we know started the racial reckoning. It was Breonna Taylor, it was Ahmaud Arbery, and then we watched George Floyd be murdered by Derek Chauvin, and that set up the storm for racial reckonings in this country, which we see the Trump Klan administration trying to roll back.
Yeah.
But so glad that they were able to keep these men in prison. But that still doesn't mean that Donald Trump will come in and do something chaotic. But they have been convicted in the state courts as well, so they're not getting out. No.
Yes, and Oren G had mentioned earlier that he saw Jesse Jackson at the trial, and he remembers that the lawyer for one of the assailants objected to Jesse Jackson being there. I remember that as well.
Yeah, they didn't want Lee Merritt, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, in the courtroom either, who represented the mother, Ahmaud Arbery's mother. And so, yeah, they tried. It didn't work. So glad to see that justice for Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and partial for Breonna Taylor, but she still hasn't had justice for her life in a significant way. There have been some victories, of course. Her boyfriend won in the civil courts, and then one of the officers was convicted but not convicted, and so they're still seeking justice for Breonna Taylor. Let's talk a little politics and how Black women are gearing up for the 2026 midterms. So while some are leaving office and there will be some vacant seats, so 2026 is looking to be a very spicy year for the midterms. We'll start with Rep. Bonnie Watson Coleman. New Jersey's first Black woman to serve in Congress has announced she will not seek re-election in 2026 after 6 terms in the House. And there are a lot of other older, seasoned Black lawmakers that people are talking about need to step down too, but we're not going to get into that right now.
Well, her stepping down, Jersey is a pretty much a blue state. So it's not as dangerous as some. There's a couple of them who are retiring from red states that are Democrats, and that's the danger for the Democratic Party with their hopes for 2026. So, but we'll see, because the way things have swung, and of course we see Trump's numbers down to 33%, probably less than that, but that's what they're going to tell us, that his approval rating is at 33%. That big statement that was made earlier this month during those elections. So it may not matter whether, all this redistricting, and congratulations to Niel, to Indiana for defying that red state, defying Chief Nakahoma in the White House, saying we're not doing the redistricting. So congratulations.
Well, he's probably going to blame J.D. Vance for that, because he put J.D. Vance in charge of Indiana. So that's probably going to come in one late night tweet before the end of the year. Or next year when they start losing, and he says he's going to blame J.D. Vance because he put him in charge of Indiana and he failed. He failed
miserably. That's right.
He felt
You
big.
got
Let's head over to my sunshine state of California. It's not so sunshiny right now. We've had rain for the past 3 days, but former mayor of San Francisco, London Breeze, says she is seriously considering a run for Congress to succeed Nancy Pelosi.
nice.
So that'll be an interesting race because some of the social lists that are thinking about getting involved in that campaign too. And because of a Mandami win, I think we're going to see a lot of different types of candidates running for office in 2026 too. So that's going to be interesting as well. And then let's come to the East Coast, where and talk a little bit about the city of DC. Well, DC Ward 4th Council member Janessa Lewis George is telling folks she's running for mayor in DC next year. And of course, current mayor Muriel Bowser has not said whether she intends to seek a 4th term or not. And it's probably going to depend on who she may have to run against.
The only reason for her to stick around, in my opinion, and I could be way off, but the only reason for Bowser to try and stick around is, and you're not supposed to be in politics for money, but it has to be for money, because why would you want to stay there under what Donald Trump has done? You did everything he asked for. Well, but what I'm saying, somebody's got to do it. You're right. I'm not trying to say that this young lady shouldn't do it or the other candidates, but what I'm saying is Bowser's been there and she's been beat up so bad by this man, even though she capitulated immediately and she did things that he tearing down Black Lives Matter Plaza before he even asked, because she knew that he was going to have it done. And that's just one of the many things. The whole National Guard thing, it's so much. What I'm saying, it seems like the headaches outweigh for her at this point. She's been through it enough. It just seems like that's enough. It should be enough. But
time's a ticking and we'll see what she's going to do. But let's talk a little bit about HBCUs. Congratulations goes out to my alma mater, Grambling State University Lady Tigers are your 2025 SWAC women's soccer champions. So congratulations to those ladies. We don't hear a lot about soccer a lot in the Black community. And so I think this is a huge score for Black women and for HBCUs and of course, Grambling State University.
I was watching the RNG SWAC Sports Network on Saturday with Jackson State. He had the Jackson State game going on, and I tell you what, the cheerleading, man, they know what they're doing at HBCUs with the cheerleading. The steps and everything is just on point. But thanks again to RNG. He boosted up the Black press, and as he always does, and even the donation situation as well. So thank you, RNG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's one HBCU on the West Coast that, is arguably an HBCU, but we consider it one here in LA. And it's called Charles Drew University, right in the heart of Watts, Los Angeles, California. Mackenzie Scott has done it again, y'all. She has made her second gift to Charles Drew University with a $27 million donation following her $20 million gift to the university in 2022. And so there's LA Focus, which is a member of the NNPA, Black Press USA, who reported on it. But, she continues to go across the country giving. And I mean, we're just very grateful to her for her understanding the importance of HBCUs.
Over $400 million this year alone she has given to HBCUs and Black education. And there's a story on Black Press USA right now about that. It also mentions Melinda French Gates, who is doing something similar for women. So you have two women who were married to two of the richest men in the world, and after the divorce they decided, listen, this is what we're gonna do. And we are really amazed at what Mackenzie Scott, I call it a one woman reparations crusade. That's what I call it. I know people object to that, but that's what I call it.
Yeah, really. I mean, if you want to see something get done the right way, ask a woman. That's all I can say. When you think about, when you look at her husband and what he's doing, while he's throwing
Total opposite.
while he's throwing Kris Jenner, $7 to $10 million birthday party, she's over here funding education for the least of these. So, go figure. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about food security. Tyler Perry has donated $1.4 million to organizations helping families amid SNAP uncertainty. And SNAP uncertainty is still here, folks. People are still just now getting their money this week. And then you have the Trump administration now requiring participants to reapply for benefits. So this is not over just because the government shutdown is over. That Trump Klan administration is still going after people's benefits. And I said this, I knew Trump wasn't done. And this is what you call mental terrorism, right? Mm-hmm. And the FBI warned us that the number one terrorist threat in America is the white man. And what is Trump? A white man. And what are the 4 types of terrorists? You have criminal, you have psychic, you have war, and political. And Donald Trump and his Klan exude all of that, all those folks in the White House. And so, thanks to people like McKinsey, and you have people like Tyler Perry stepping up to the case to kind of, help. It's not going to help everything, but everything counts at this point, Stacey.
Well, it does. And we're going to also see if any deal could get done on the Obamacare subsidies. They are claiming that they're looking to vote on it next week, but we will see. We will see. Because that is huge too. Folks are seeing such a spike in their premiums, and not just the premiums, which is bad enough, because that's something you definitely have to pay out every month to keep your health insurance. But the deductibles are so doggone high that even if you are able to afford the premiums, you still may not be able to afford care based on what the GOP and MAGA has done to try and hurt Obamacare.
Yeah, and they're really going to feel it in 2020 at the top of the year, 2026. You're really going to feel that impact and that hit. But let's talk about what other countries are doing. So France has made history by becoming the first country in the world to require supermarkets to donate unsold food to those in need. So after things are expired, grocery stores have to donate it to their food banks, their shelters, or maybe people could come at the back door and pick it up. Why couldn't we do something like that?
Well, why is that? Why isn't that common practice? Why hasn't that been common practice forever?
Right. And I also saw on TikTok a young woman from Germany. She took us through the grocery store in Germany and was showing us how like a dozen of eggs is $2.99. A gallon of milk is $1.99. An avocado is 50 cents. And she's like, I don't know what's going on in America, but we over here living practical and basic over here across the board. And so it just makes you think, why are our groceries so expensive? And you can go to Germany and get, our bills are $400. You can go over there and get everything you need for $100. Why is that?
Yeah, David Youngblood says, by the way, Nia, the black press was noted in MS Now over the weekend. That's nice to know.
Right. And they changed their name. They changed their name from MSNBC to MS Now. If you guys didn't catch that. That's not New Network. That's just MSNBC. It's MS Now. So she said, Dr. Mellon says, I thought the U.S. did, or they sell it to Aldi's and the dollar store. Well, in France, it's free. It's free, so.
I thought I heard in the past a grocery store or two, not necessarily have it as a practice, but did it maybe this time of year during the holiday seasons or whatever. But what you're saying in France is something that's incredible. And it's like, It takes no brain power to say that we should do that anyway.
Right.
Everybody
And it's a
should be doing it.
requirement in France now.
Right.
It's not
Exactly.
optional. If you're a grocery store and your stuff has a 1117 mark and you haven't sold it, you got to give it away.
Give it away.
You got to give it away. And last but not least, one of our favorite social media fast food chains, who's always battling with McDonald's and Burger King, Wendy's, has announced that it will close 200 to 350 underperforming restaurants across the U.S. by the end of this year. So sooner than later. And the decision comes as part of the chain's effort to boost sales and profitability at nearby locations. So they're basically scaling. But I think this is something that we're seeing with just a lot of businesses in general in our country. Stores closing down, job layoffs. You see over at Starbucks, I saw April Verrett, the president of SEIU, doubling down, saying that they're supporting the strike over at Starbucks. And that's SEIU, the union. So you see all of these different scenarios boiling under to make 2026 look very unpredictable.
Mm. Wow.
And those are my headlines for today.
Very interesting. Well, folks, let's get to some black facts then. On this date in 1832, the Constitution of the Female Anti-Slavery Society of Salem was established by a group of females of color dedicated to promoting moral and social improvement for their community and to fighting slavery. Its key resolutions included supporting anti-slavery publications like The Liberator, collecting funds for charitable relief and the purchase of books, and conducting meetings with prayer and singing to support the cause. So that's what happened on this date way back in 1832.
So I have two today. On this day in 1973, a child was born named Neil Anderson.
A child was born with no state of mind.
So today is my birthday. But also, more important than that, on this day in 1987, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing was released, which garnered him a Best Original Screenplay Oscar nomination. And so, yeah, Do the Right Thing and Neil Anderson. And of course, the Female Anti-Slavery Society.
Wait a minute, that they work together. Do the Right Thing and Neil at the same time. Come on.
Oh, and one more important thing. Happy Founders Day to the men of Omega Sci-Fi. Today is also Omega Sci-Fi's Founders Day.
Okay, so Greer ordered a batch of Fishwives for you. What's Fishwives?
Oh, I love Fishwives. So Fishwife is this new upscale canned seafood. So if you like sardines,
okay.
If you like oysters or trout or smoked salmon, I mean, Fishwife is delicious. Okay, it is very delicious. Get you some brie, and just binge watch, but it is delicious. And I'm not a big sardines eater, but when I tell tell you about this Fishwife, delicious. Thank you.
Greer says she loves it as well.
Oh yeah.
RNG says you look all of 25.
You know what? I don't have gray hair. You do. Okay, let's not go there.
It's not gray, it's white.
But I do want to say this show, being a part of this show, has really allowed me to embrace my age. Because when I turned 50, I didn't like it. I didn't even want to say I was 50. But when I look at these millennials and these Gen Xers and Yers and talking to the chat, I am so glad to be from Gen Z. I am so honored. Thank God.
That is a shame. RNG says if you pledged Omega, we all know your GPA was 2.3.
Oh, that's cold-blooded. I didn't say that. I wish y'all happy Founders Day.
That's a shame. Okay, go to blackpressusa.com for the latest. Like I said, we could read about more about an in-depth view of Mackenzie Scott at blackpressusa.com. Thanks so much for watching. Neil, say goodbye.
Peace and love, y'all.
See ya.